That dude is a flat out idiot. Are you kidding me?
Now,
He was
now
almost as bad.
they treated me the same way the last time. This guy's a freaking deer in the headlights.
Yeah, he was almost as stupid as the last guy you talked to.
I was trying to explain 4 times to this flaming moron. Neither one of these imbeciles understood, and because they don't understand it, they just overtalk you and they interrupt. They're morons.
I'm pretty sure that
And
Eric.
both of them are rude.
I'm pretty sure that Eric, the guy who he was referring to for you to talk to.
I know who he's referring to.
That's the guy who
down. Oh, we'd love to talk to you next week. Well, how about talking to me now? Oh, well, we don't have enough time. But wait a minute, you got 3 more callers lined up. You gave other people a half an hour on the microphone.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, these people are such. Listen, they were deer in the headlights. Did you hear what this moron says? He goes, "We don't need something that's unconditionally non-dependent." Really? Then how do you have intelligibility for any statement? In other words, a fact means something without a system and a foundation. Really?
Well, he just obfuscated a bunch trying to ask you for different definitions and things that are pretty common.
So what you saw was Plan B atheism.
Plan B.
Well, he was trying to argue. He was trying to argue from the position of relativism. He's saying, well, his argument is basically, it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. What matters is I can still make statements relative to what reality is.
He wants to say is, I can make statements that are metaphysically intelligible. I don't need a foundation. Then how do you know it means anything? You see, this is how intellectually inferior atheists are on these discussions. By the way, did you hear me telling he was a deer in the headlights at the end?
Yeah, he got really pissed off about that and said, "I'm not an effing deer in the headlights. I answered your question." He's like, "I answered your question." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to read up because I don't really know what I'm talking about. But I'm not a deer in the headlights."
Is that what he said? I missed that.
They're still yapping, by the way. The show hasn't ended.
Next week, make
your both of them.
So you can purchase our product. We have swag. If you like.
When I attempted to explain it over and over again, they kept on cutting me off and interrupting me.
ADD, if you call back next week,
to being rude.
Name deer in the headlights.
In other words, please call back next week because I don't know how to answer you.
You need more time to prepare.
Make your caller named Deer and where you're from is in the headlights. That would be hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I got it out that I told him on camera that he was a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, they need more time to prepare, but that was quite telling that they admitted, both of them admitted they were being rude.
You know, I decided at a certain point I wasn't going to be Mr. Nice Guy anymore. Okay? Enough.
Because I was like, man, Darth seems to be getting heated. So you just
I just decided I'm taking the gloves off because they're over talking me. They're because when I'm trying to explain this to the deer in the headlights, that you can't have intelligibility without having a foundation and a system. A fact is a fact only with respect to a model of reality or a system, and that model of reality needs a foundation. And that foundation will be that which is unconditionally non-dependent. If they say, oh, well, we don't need anything unconditionally non-dependent, then what do your facts ultimately depend upon? You see, these people think that they're philosophically sophisticated as atheists. They are clueless. They are deer in the headlights.
Yeah, they don't want to say, I don't know, because then that just undermines their whole position, their show, everything that they stand for.
You can call back next week.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is...
we're running out of time right now, guys.
We're running out of time!
The thing that's funny about it is, if the conversation continued, he would have had to admit that his sense perception is his absolute. He would have to admit that.
No, he couldn't.
Well, he would. That's what you have to say.
Because sense perception is not unconditionally non-dependent. So
Well,
if
right.
you say, if you say, well, why can you see? Well, because there are photons and there's laws of nature. So now you're pushing back the dependency one step further. Okay, good. Are photons and laws of nature unconditionally non-dependent? You see, the point is simply this, is they want to believe that they can be intelligible and meaningful in their assertions. But their system doesn't provide for it. And you know why? It's because they're not introspective enough about their system. And you see, he understood in part what I was getting at, and the light went off of his head. Oh crap, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to answer that. So we'll just keep cutting him off, and we'll just use verbal misdirection. You see, I didn't lose my temper. I was just fighting back for their abusive treatment. Okay, they were misusing their position to sit there and to constantly cut me off.
And the brain dead audience was clapping.
Well, they're morons. If you call back next week, we could have Jamie talk to you. Yeah, why? Because you're a deer in the headlights?
Yeah. And they had several people on there who had long calls.
He said, we're running out of time. Really? You have 3 more callers? You gave the previous 2 callers.
You run out of time. They're still going.
The previous two callers were on there for an extended period of time.
Exactly.
Okay? No, the reason why, we're running out of time, you know what that's code for? Oh, crap, we don't know how to answer you.
Yep. I see it as a type of Morse code.
Yeah, we're running out of time. No, you're not. You can talk to me right now. And what I was going to get at is what he's going to say is either the intelligibility of stated facts is in virtue of something unconditionally non-dependent, or intelligibility has no foundation. So what I was trying to get at is, which is it? Is it the metaphysical intelligibility when you state facts? Is it in virtue of no basis whatsoever? Or is there a basis? And you see, he was going to be screwed because he would know which way to answer.
Yeah.
Because if he says, no, there is no unconditionally non-dependent state that provides for intelligibility. So in other words, intelligibility doesn't come from anywhere.
Yeah, I do.
What a moron! And if he said that intelligibility comes from something unconditionally absolute, but it's not God, then I was prepared to say, well, tell me, what is this? What is it? You see, this is the little game that they played. If the conversation had gone on another 10 or 15 minutes, this guy would have been under the table crying.
That's what they're going to do with anybody who gives them a hard time.
Anybody who comes on and whose intelligence confronts them as to the viability of their position, this is what they do. What you saw was unadulterated obstructionism. It was Plan B. Okay? Remember I talk about Plan B all the time? That's what it was. It was Plan B. Oh, we've run out of time. We're just going to cut you off 5 or 6 times in a row. And I tell them, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Oh, yes, we are. No, you're not. How can you have intelligibility for a stated fact that is baseless? These are the blowhards. Hold on. These are the blowhards will say, claims require extraordinary evidence. Good. So if you give me a fact, what does it ultimately depend upon for its intelligibility and meaning?
But Darcy was holding up a coffee mug.
I mean, is that pathetic or what? I'm holding up the coffee mug is my basis for intelligibility.
Yeah, DD, there might possibly be some trolls in here.
That's okay. We'll weed them out.
Or if I don't know the nature of reality, I still know I'm holding the coffee mug.
So do you plan on calling back?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They said
Yeah, I will.
they said you'll be the first caller next week.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, we can have somebody who can answer you because I'm too limp-wristed and inept to answer you.
Yeah, that dude is too stupid to actually know what's being said to him. Your mic sounds a little lower than it normally does. It's
All
not
right, hold
quite
on.
as
Let
clear.
me
It's
check.
like you're
Let me check.
talking.
Okay, how about now? Is my mic better?
Yeah.
How about now? Yeah, I wasn't losing my temper. I was just letting them know that I wasn't happy of them constantly cutting me off. And you see, they realized that I was going to ask them a question that they were screwed on. So what you do is you interrupt your interlocutor and you just run the clock out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite embarrassing on their part.
Yeah, Talk Heathens was humiliated again, but I'm glad I got the dig in that I told him he's a deer in the headlights.
Huh.
I'm going to have to listen to that again. At least it was entertaining, right?
Yeah. Definitely didn't leave empty-handed. That was almost as stupid as the last guy you talked to today.
Well, they're not as stupid as, at least they could understand basic English. They didn't seem to be brain damaged.
Well, for one thing's for sure, he definitely knew where it was going real quick.
He knew that either way he answered, he was going to be screwed. How can you have intelligibility if you don't have something unconditionally non-dependent? Where does the buck stop? Where's the beef? So in other words, you can make assertions that don't have an ultimate basis?
Ultimate basis.
The guy actually said, this is how stupid he is.
Christianity, brand Christianity there.
He said, oh, well, we don't need an unconditional basis. Really?
All he needs is what he can.
And they're still going right now. They're not out of time. There was nowhere close to being out of time.
Oh, we're running out of time. And I called them out in that lie. You said you got 3 other callers.
A little bit different.
You don't have to push me off the next week. You can just keep talking to me right now.
They had that first guy on from Nigeria. He was on for like half an hour, and the whole basis of his thing was, I don't see prayers get answered. Somehow that lasted for half an hour. We'll get healed these days.